to the TIMFD podcast. Today is my favorite day, and this is where we learn how to make the most of each day, even when life shows up with those unexpected plot twists we didn't see coming. If this episode encourages you, would you please take a second to like, share, and comment? Now, let's find out how today can be our favorite day.
Hey everybody, Dave again, and we have a special guest. This gentleman here is Frederick. Frederick happens to be an attorney. And you're going, before you think of anything, he's not a bad guy. Okay? He is an attorney. And first of all, Frederick, tell us about your, I guess it's your calling, but your business too. So tell me what that is first, and then we'll go backwards.
We empower people to know how to use the courts when they need to by teaching them the simple rules of evidence, simple rules of procedure. Been doing it now for almost 30 years on the web.
And it's called?
HowToWinInCourt.com.
HowToWinInCourt.com. We're going to have that on the notes. So just want to make sure we have that. All right. I know you went to Stetson.
Mm-hmm.
I know Stetson very well since it's right around the corner here from, it's in Tampa, the Tampa area. Why did you, for one, even pick that? Because you were not going into the legal world at first in your life. You did a lot of stuff prior to this, correct?
I just wanted the degree.
Okay.
I didn't go to become an attorney.
Oh.
I was teaching in a Christian school in Orlando. I taught there for 3 years. Okay. And a friend that I'd met up in New Jersey when I was delivering sailboats up into New England. And he said, well, why don't you, he became a lawyer after we'd been chumming around. And he said, why don't you at least set for the LSAT? So I said, well, okay, Jim, I'll take the test.
Really? Oh, okay.
And I did really well. So I told the headmaster, I said, I'll apply to one law school. And if they accept me, I'll go. If they don't, I'll stay here and teach till I die. And I made $4,000 a year. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy teaching. And that's really, I just wanted a degree because I'd already learned a lot of things, from this book and a bunch of other books. And I thought there was a lot that people need to know that they don't know these days. And I thought, well, maybe they'll listen to me if I had that doctorate degree.
Okay, which does, just in the world, it does matter. People look at those degrees.
And it's been working well for 30 years.
Good. And then for you, prior to that, if you don't mind, I'd like to go over, because you were just not poof a Christian, how did you come to Christ? How did that even happen?
Well, it's a bit of a story.
Especially when I'm talking to an attorney. So I'm kind of curious.
It's a bit of a story. When I was probably 5, my grandmother took me to the Presbyterian church, and there was a stained glass window of this young man with holes in his hands and feet. And at the age of 5, it just struck me. But then I lived the life I shouldn't have lived for years. And then I was delivering a boat down to St. Croix in the islands. And I got caught in a very bad January gale off the coast of the Dominican Republic. And I was awake for, maybe 72 hours. And there was no radio, nothing, I just prayed and prayed. And I said, get me out of this and I'll read your book.
Really? Okay.
And so I did.
Okay. So he got you out of it, and then you read the book.
I read the book. And then I thought I knew everything. And then years later, there was a Wednesday night church supper. I love those. And after the church supper, the program was about the baptism of Christ. Okay. And here was this person I'd wondered about, loved, with the holes in his hands and feet, going under that muddy river. And it made me ashamed. It just cut into me. And I told the fellows, I said, can I get baptized by immersion?
Okay.
And they laughed because they all kind of chummed with me, before that event. And they said, well, the baptismal's cold. And I really felt that if it were molten metal, I would want to be plunged to be with him. And then everything changes, of course.
Now, when was that? Before Stetson? Or
Oh, well, yes,
okay,
way
before.
before,
Okay,
way
okay.
before,
And so
years
then
before.
came to Christ. You obviously were a teacher. So what were you teaching prior to that?
Oh, I taught chemistry and physics and
Okay,
biology.
which makes sense because the conversations I've had with you, that would make total sense.
Yeah,
This is a very, very bright man. So for you, you taught the sciences.
yes.
Okay. In the sciences, did you see a intelligent design involved in all this? Because I mean, scientists now are really, that's a big challenge right now for a lot of them. They're seeing that.
The plan,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
plan. Yes, even when I teach people about the elements of what's called a cause of action, the cause of action is your right to sue, that there are perhaps 3 or 4 elements. And I explain to them, if you want to make sulfuric acid, you have to have sulfur.
Okay.
If you take the sulfur out, you no longer have sulfuric acid. And that these elements are the similar thing. A certain fact situations have to exist for a case to go forward.
Okay.
And there may usually be no more than 3 or 4.
But you have to have those for a
Yeah.
case to go forward legally.
They all have to be present.
Okay. Just like in
And-
chemistry. That makes
And
sense.
then the whole process of winning is to demonstrate through evidence and pleadings that all of these essential facts are there, and we've proven they're there. So we win.
Wow. Okay.
But it
Okay.
comes from chemistry, and
From the
and
sciences
it's
that
all-
you taught.
it's all a plan.
Wow. Okay. And so from there, Stetson, that was the school. I guess you said I'll apply to one school,
One school.
and that's the one school you. Why did you apply to Stetson? I'm curious. It does have it is known for, I think, courtroom things, if I remember right. They
It
win.
was, at one time it won awards
Yes.
nationwide
Yes.
on litigation and so
Yes.
forth.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the
So,
reason?
of course, I was 39 years old when I went,
Wow.
and I made friends with some of the professors that were my age,
Mm-hmm.
and there's stories about that too.
Now, when you were there, you said you started a Christian something on that
I-
campus?
I looked for there was a bulletin board. There was just a few scraps on the bulletin board, Christian Legal Society,
Okay.
and so I said, well, where are they meeting?
Where are the few?
And so God did give me a little bit of leadership ability there, and we turned 3 or 4 people into probably 30 or 40 at times, and we had a really good thing. We had some activities. It was really fun.
And then you graduated, went into the legal world because you also were involved with a Christian organization for lawyers, if it amounts, or at least for
Well, that was
attorneys.
Christian Legal Society.
Okay, so that's what that is.
And
Okay.
they made me president of that for Pinellas County for a while.
And were there lawyers that came to this? I mean, I'm trying
Oh,
to think
yes, there were.
Wow.
Yeah, and I tried to encourage them to teach these principles of justice, that the Sanhedrin principles of justice and the Mishmah that God wants
We're going
the
to get into
judges
all that. I
to
can't wait. I can't wait.
that God wants the judges to follow, so
Yes.
that we do administer justice and not opinions or personal preferences and all
and
that.
that's very easy to do as human beings, to say the
Yes.
least. All right, so just kind of getting the history. Did that when you got out of law school? Did you start a practice, or you started this?
Well, law school's very expensive.
Yeah. So I was wondering,
So I did practice for several years,
Okay.
quite a number of years actually, probably
what kind
almost
of law
20.
did you practice?
I specialized in winning.
I love that.
Well, that was an advantage too, because I only represented people that deserved to win.
Oh,
So that was kind of gave me an edge, didn't it?
absolutely. So you were on the defense?
No, I represented plaintiffs.
Did you really?
Yeah, I represented guardianships and probate estates and did some litigation, and it's fun.
Especially when you win.
Yeah, but then I began to see that so many people, 82% of the American public can't afford a lawyer.
Really?
So, and you can get a lawyer with, subsidized lawyers, but they have so many cases. It's very hard. So what we're trying to do is get people to understand the rules are fair, And when they're enforced, justice may actually occur.
So I want to get into, you've brought up the same word a couple of times, justice. Justice is a big deal for everyone, I believe, but I don't know if people, and even myself, I don't know if I fully understand what you're meaning of when you're talking justice, because you showed me, he gave me a cup, and this cup has the word justice. The T looks like a cross, and on the T it shows a sword, and then crossing it is a pen. And so I had to ask you, but what does that mean? What do you mean by that? So before we get into, let's look at justice and your thought of justice, and then let's get into your business you've done for a while here and how you've been helping people and what you would like to see in the future. Okay, because this is really about letting people kind of know what the possibilities are for people, including myself, possibilities of what we can do in the future. And right now in the present, honestly, if we can get some of this stuff down. So can you explain justice? I know it's a huge topic, and I know it probably will have a lot involved with it because it's dealing with grace and everything else that's done, mercy. Can you help somebody who's in here that's just heard me talk about this cross in the middle of justice that has a sword and this pen, and what does that all mean? Go.
Well, there's a word, jurisprudence.
Okay.
And jurisprudence is somewhat, you could say it's a word used to describe what you might call the philosophy of justice.
Okay.
And the first part of that word, juris, comes from the Latin, I think it's J-U-S, which basically is what's right.
Okay.
Like when two lines cross
What's right?
at a right angle. And then the other side, prudence, is the wisdom that looks to the future, that sees the future, that isn't just muddled with the present and the imperatives of the moment, but considers the consequence of what we do.
Okay.
So justice seen through that word is the activity of men, should be the activity of men who are trying to achieve what's right in the present with a sense of how this is going to impact people's lives in the future. The prudence side. Prudence is that form of wisdom that sees the future. And so the first part of the word is what's right, and what are we building here? What are we trying to make? And then I have to say, if the Lord build not the house, they labor in vain that build it. And I guess I'm maybe jumping ahead, but that's what I want to see in the future, is that we finally come to the point of understanding who Christ is and what he wants and how it will come about when our forms of justice conform to his character.
Been doing a lot of reading lately. You've been forcing me into some reading that I is great. It's getting my mind going again, which is, I appreciate that. And I know that in this country, the starting of this country, we talk about the founding fathers, that kind of stuff. None of those men are perfect. They're all sinful men, just like all of us. Saved by the grace of God, many of them that knew Jesus and really centered things around. They tried to center things around Christ and this kind of idea of justice. I know the sword. I know the sword of the Spirit. I understand the sword as far as the Word of God in my mind on that. But the pen, I still am struggling with. So can you explain that cross with the pen in the middle of justice? What does the pen mean tied to what you just said? Jurisprudence.
Well, Kingsley was in Parliament and he said, "What do we have that we've not been given? What would we have without words?"
Okay.
Believe it or not, the Lord led me to lead a 2-volume encyclopedia of the English language. I read Webster's 7th Collegiate cover to cover. I don't remember all of it, of course. But words are power, and they can be used incorrectly. And that's why we need that cross, that the power of the sword to be limited by the power of the pen, and that it be the integration of love and wisdom. And when those two are integrated, that's what justice is. Love and wisdom intertwined. That's what justice that we want
Yeah, I was gonna say,
in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are judges. I have known many judges that certainly would deserve me to go down on one knee and doff my hat when
Wow.
they walk by.
Really?
Honorable men and women that I have known in Pinellas County and Hillsborough County, West Palm Beach County, Martin County, other places where I've had cases, who were just, you could just tell they were just filled with Christ. And then there were some that were a little daft, and I had to correct them.
How would you
with
do
appeals.
that with a judge?
You do it with appeals.
I was gonna say, yeah, okay, so you do that with appeals.
Take them up on appeal or
Okay.
threaten them with appeal, and it's built into the system. It's a good system.
Okay.
When we understand how the system works, simple rules of evidence, rules of procedure.
Right.
That's all.
I want to get to that right now. So,
Okay.
let's look at our system, because there's a lot of people right now. And this is just a reality. Right now, a lot of people don't trust the system. Okay.
Can I stop you though?
Yes.
All right. When I use the word system, I don't think about the people. I don't think about the activities. I don't think about the consequences. What I think about is that there's a set of rules.
Yeah.
And they're fair. They don't favor one or the other. In fact, I had a note here about
take the notes.
Deuteronomy 16:18. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, and they shall judge the people with just judgment.
Yep.
Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow. And that word just, as I say, comes from the Latin for what is right.
So you're saying the actual law itself is just. The actual law that we have is just?
There's law over here. That's statutes,
Yes.
appellate court opinions,
Yes.
all that other stuff. Quick story. This all began with starting this website. I was about to write a motion. Comes now the plaintiff by and through his undersigned attorney and moves this honorable court pursuant to rule. I couldn't remember the rule number.
Oh.
So I grabbed my rule book, which is maybe that thick. And I started thumbing it, and I realized that I only had about 25 pages in that rule book that I'd used. And God turned the light on and said, you can teach this to people. There are very few rules. The rules of procedure, motions, pleadings, discovery, where you get evidence, you force the other person to turn over the evidence. And then the evidence rules, they're just filters. They filter out the bad stuff and let in the good stuff.
Okay.
And they're simple. There's really just 4 categories of rules.
What are those?
If I could think
remember?
of them.
I'm not going.
I don't want brain dead right
don't
now.
Don't worry about it. I know we've been bouncing around all over the place.
It's relevance, reliability, privileges, and when you see them as they are, in the simplicity of what they really, really are, they belong to the people. They are the power of the people that have, so far, as Jesus said, have been hidden. Woe to you lawyers, for you have, what's that word? Hidden the keys of knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
and that's true.
But this can change.
Okay. Because I could say that I felt, and you and I have had this conversation, I felt lost in that whole world of justice, if you will,
Well,
and the legal system
when
itself.
when you think of it the way it is manipulated and prostrated and corrupted and prostituted for the sake of self-interest of whatever, where that word just, what's right, kind of like gets, well, that's inconvenient.
Yes. And that's what I think gets people frustrated.
Well, it should,
It gets
because
me frustrated, I know.
but the more people understand what those rules really are,
Okay.
the rules that were violated when Caiaphas got the false conviction of Jesus.
Yeah, go into that real
I wish
quick.
I could remember all of it. That's where.
But as far as just the overall idea of what Caiaphas did to Jesus.
Well, the trial was not supposed to be at night. The two witnesses were supposed to agree. There was a rule that if a witness perjured himself in a capital trial, that he himself would be put to death.
Yes.
But the rules were broken. They were supposed to retire. They weren't supposed to have it at night at all. They were supposed to retire and then meet again the next day. And
Really? I
yeah,
did not know that. Okay.
a unanimous decision was automatically to be thrown aside because it was part of their rules. One person had to stand for this accused.
And they didn't do that.
Couldn't be forced to testify. These things that are beautiful rules that existed because God informed Moses way back when, and these other people, God said, this is the way, walk you in it. And they built a system of judges. And then, of course, the people wanted Samuel to make a king, and that's another story. We don't probably have time to go down that road.
On that, yeah.
But these rules they're wonderful. They're kind. They work. They're almost like a machine, the way they go together, and they force the truth, and they compel judges to do what's right when they're used forcefully. And I just feel motivated to say this, that when I went to court, and I urge my students when they go to court, think about all the blood that's been spilled. Think of the price of liberty. Yeah. Think of Calvary. Yeah. But think also of the jungles of Iwo Jima. Think of the beaches at Normandy. Yeah. All that's been paid for us to work for systems of justice to protect the innocent. Yeah. And that's the spirit that we walk into the courtroom with. Can I tell one quick story?
Yes, please.
One of my professors, his name was William McKinley Smiley. We called him Mickey. His dad had been a prosecutor down just south of Sarasota, and he and I had many, many visits. After I graduated, we went sailing and went out to eat things, and he was brilliant. Had a major impact on my ability to do what I do today. He was invited to go to appear on Oprah Winfrey. Wow. He had been asked by the governor to help him to decide some things about capital punishment. And he'd never thought about it before. But now the governor asked him. And when he realized that this was really, in a way, he was being asked to throw the switch.
Oh, big difference.
And it changed him.
Yes. And
so when Oprah invited him, he told her, we saw the video, he showed us the video of this. She told him, now let's don't be talking about religion.
Did she really say that?
That's what he said.
Oh, he did.
And she said, well, we'll pay your airfare and we'll pay for your hotel, but I don't want you to be talking about God and all that. So Professor Smiley told her, I'll pay my own airfare, I'll pay for my own hotel, and I'll talk about God. And he did.
Oh, wow.
There are good people in the legal business.
Okay. And that's good to hear, because what we see in our, not just the courtrooms, but what we're seeing in our, in the Senate, the House, both in our United States of America, but also in our states. That's one of the biggest complaints I'm hearing is that people think that it's just corrupted. You know.
The root of these problems is ignorance.
Okay.
It's easy for us to sit and say, well, those people are evil.
It
But
is. It is.
It is easy,
Absolutely.
but they're ignorant.
Yeah.
They haven't been touched as we have been touched. You know, the old hymn, there to my heart is the blood applied.
Yeah.
Okay. You're talking to a scoundrel.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. It's only that changes us. And that's why what you do is so important. I like to think that what I do is important too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the more we know, the more we're able to serve our fellow man. And I think a lot of those people they're just lost in a sea of just it's a seething sea of cess.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
But there's a job to do, and they don't know how to do it. They don't understand that there's rules. I navigated world's most expensive American-owned yacht at the time. It was named Jardel. It was a 148-foot motor vessel, and we had a compass on board. We had a gyro compass, a Sperry gyro compass, and it always pointed to true north.
Absolutely.
And if it hadn't been for that compass, we also had a couple of magnetic compasses. But if it hadn't been for the compasses, we'd still be till we ran out of fuel.
Yes.
But there are compasses, and Christ is the primary compass.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other compasses, and I like to think that at least in the world that I deal with, one of those compasses is the rules of evidence. One of those is the rules of procedure. And then there's rules about how judges are supposed to read things. I had a very good English teacher when I was a child. We actually diagrammed sentences, and we don't do that anymore.
No, we don't.
But good thinking that realizes that these rules are going to get us to the best result. And
can you explain the rules of evidence? What do you mean by that?
it's a filter.
Okay.
Well, the one that people know most is hearsay. So if you were accused and the witness comes in, Mr. Tompkins, what did you see at the scene? And he's allowed to say that.
Absolutely.
And was anybody else at the scene? And Mr. Tompkins says, well, yes, there was Mr. Williams. And what did Mr. Williams say? Now, if you're brain dead, you don't object.
Okay.
But for this man to say what Mr. Williams said is hearsay. Mr. Williams is not in court.
Okay. Okay.
I can't cross-examine him.
No.
I don't know whether Mr. Williams even said what this man said Mr. Williams said.
True.
So that's just one of the rules of evidence. They're really, really simple. An eighth grader can learn these in an afternoon.
And this is in your kind of process that you go through.
But imagine that. An eighth grader could learn these rules in an afternoon.
Mm.
They're so simple.
Mm.
And they just simply say no. And if you're on your toes, drink lots of coffee and don't think about the parking meter outside, you object.
Okay.
Want one more story?
Yes, please.
I was representing a very, very wealthy family from Canada. They were from Ottawa, and they had a home down here in Florida. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police sent a lawyer down to depose my client in Orlando.
Interesting. Okay.
The wife. And so she started asking questions about this and questions about that. No problem. And then she said, well, what did your husband say? Objection. She got so bent out of shape.
She is it's hearsay. Basically, she's speaking for another person.
Not
correct?
only that, but we have the husband-wife privilege.
Oh, that's true.
And she started banging her pencil, and this went on and on. And so she'd go back and talk about this. What about? She'd try to make me go to sleep or think about the parking meter. But I did drink a lot of coffee that day. So then she came back again. Well, what did your husband say about objection? And she said, Mr. Graves. And I said, well, we have this privilege here, ma'am, this attorney-client privilege, husband-wife privilege. And she said, we don't have that in Canada. And I said, and you're in Mickey Mouse Town.
Yeah.
And we have it here. And she's not going to testify as to what her husband said.
Correct.
So it favors good guys. The good guy is favored by these rules that should be taught in our schools.
And they're not.
And they're not.
I know nothing about
But
it.
they could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could learn these simple, you're saying simple principles, or
It's not rocket science or brain surgery.
okay, so you said 4. So there was the evidence. What was the next one?
Well, there's actually, I'm sorry, there's 6.
Okay.
Okay, I'll forget them.
That's okay.
I didn't have enough
Just
coffee yet.
Just hit one of them.
Relevance.
Okay.
Whatever it is that the other side wants to bring in has to in some way impact the outcome of this case.
Okay. If it's relevant, it makes sense. If it's not,
I had a case involving almost over $4 million. And the other side was trying to do anything it could do to besmirch my client's character. And they kept trying to drag in that he'd been involved in a fist fight in a restaurant in Boca Raton.
what's the relevance of that?
It had no relevance.
There we go.
But if they could get the jury to hear that,
Oh, that could sway them.
it wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
It's
Even though it has no relevance to it
Not
at all.
relevant.
Wow. Okay.
And then you have reliability. We don't let children testify. We don't, people that believe that there's monkeys playing guitars in the trees, we don't let those. And there's competence. You have to have firsthand knowledge to testify.
Yes, because then it's, again, back to hearsay and back to gossip almost. I mean,
Yeah. So these categories, if you take the whole set of rules and you begin to see, well, they're really on there's 6 types of rules. Privilege, for example, like I said, a husband-wife privilege, a priest-penitent privilege.
Mhm.
They're beautiful. They protect the innocent. And then we go back to Caiaphas, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Who was there to protect the innocent? Nobody.
Nobody. They were actually trying to kill the innocent. That's what they were trying to do, get rid of them.
But they broke the rules.
Yes, they did.
We need to reinstate the rules not only in the courthouse, but in the minds of the people themselves.
So okay, that's where I wanted to go.
Because now it helps the family relationships. Now it helps a business relationships. When things are begun to be done in the right way, with that word right. What's right?
Yeah.
What's just? And what's prudent?
Jurisprudence. There we go.
Because it not only needs to be right, in the present, it needs to consider what is a consequence of it in the future. I think we have a lot of opportunities in this present moment that we didn't have 50 years ago because of technology.
Okay, tell me why. Tell me because of technology.
Well,
why?
because we can disseminate information very, very rapidly. Just this morning, I used AI to make a video, just beginning to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
There's an old case called Hadley versus Baxendale about a fella had a grist mill, and he was grinding corn, and the mill shaft broke, and he hired this other fellow to go take the mill shaft into town, have it repaired, and he went off. It took too long. So the mill owner was getting real bent out of shape, and he said, well, you should pay me for what I lost by not being able to grind corn.
Okay.
Well, that's not good.
No.
So there's a decision, Hadley versus Baxendale. It's an old English decision, which is common law. It applies today. Well, so what I did, I put all that into the AI. I said, make me a video telling the story of Hadley versus Baxendale. And it did it. So there's courtesy versus courtesy, and there's all these other things, not to mention offer and acceptance in contract. Remember the story where Jesus said for the fellow that wanted to work in the vineyard,
Oh, yeah.
he said, I'll give you a penny or a dime or whatever it was, a shekel. And then other people came and he paid
Later
them
on in the day.
paid them the same amount.
Yep.
And then somebody came late in the afternoon, he
Yep.
paid him the same amount, and the first guy got all bent out of shape. And he said, well, didn't we agree?
Yes.
The foundation
Didn't
of
we agree?
contract is right there.
Yeah.
And yet so many people don't even understand that. They would think that, well, it's not really fair. Let's give him more money. But people do think that way because they're not trained in these principles of justice, jurisprudence. So they want to bend things and twist things. And as soon as we start, look not to the right nor to the left, but straight ahead, I'm your reward.
They're going more from their emotions that this feels better to because instead of going by what the rules actually say and what the law actually says, it's more emotionally, that doesn't seem right, so I'm going to change it, kind of a deal. It seems to be a lot of that.
And it leads down a dark road.
Yes, it does.
Because ultimately it begins to hurt people.
Yeah.
And we need order.
Yeah.
And
well, God is a God of order.
Right here.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. He is the God of order, to say the least. So for you, what would you like to see in the next year? What would you like to see in the next year where people can grasp this material, which you say, I'm going to put it you say it's easy to get, and an eighth grader can get it.
It really is.
And to know some basic things about how not only the courtroom, or not the courtroom, but how the legal system works and how the justice system works. But then it relates, if we can get those down, it can now relate to how we relate to other people just in general, it sounds like, and how you do things within your marriage, how you do things within your family, how you do things maybe in the church, what you do in society, in community. Is that what you're saying? You think that?
Remember what Paul said?
He said a lot, but
well, of course. Good, you got me. He said, let everything be done decently and in order. Yeah. Well, order requires rules.
Yes, it does.
The very concept of order is according to rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the more that we can come to agree about the rules, to be in unity about the rules. What is it Jesus said in the prayer? He said, he's praying, and he says, thou and me and I and them, that they may be one, united in one mind, and to share at least some rules and not think, oh, I don't want to be ruled. I want my freedom. But liberty is the thing to have.
Yes.
Liberty is living under rules.
Yes.
Because the rules are good for us.
Agreed upon rules that everybody says this is what we're going to live by.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when this nation got going, which I still, when I go back and read, and again, you've got me going back and reading all over the place throughout history right now, and looking back at, most of them were younger men, young men as we were putting this all together, and the different pacts that were going on at the time and how they kind of got the states going and how they looked at things. They went under specific rules. I mean, all of them seemed to do that. They were all, but the rules that I saw were mostly based off of this, which was really interesting. How did we get our system? These men came over from primarily Europe, let's just say, we'll kind of put it generally there. I'm sure there was others obvious coming, but generally Europe. They did have to deal with the Magna Carta was already done, and that had a big impact on the legal system of here, didn't it? Didn't the Magna Carta have some sort of impact or some sort of?
Well, it did because the court opinions, the appellate court opinions in England, much of that was guided by the rules and principles of the Church of England.
Okay.
And they were good, sensible rulings. Hadley versus Baxendale is just one of them that I remember.
So that was from that time frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
And appellate court opinions, the sum total of appellate court opinions is what we call common law. A lot of people think common law is something that falls out of the sky. I'm not
A
sure.
lot of people have brought that up to me. So explain that a little bit more, because I've heard
Well,
them say, it's common law. I'm going, what, that just come out of nowhere?
It doesn't, you
No.
see. It doesn't. I mean, Hadley versus Baxendale is common law. It controls a contract dispute today in our courts.
Wow.
Okay, because in Florida especially, it's written in our Constitution, Florida Constitution, that we adopted the common law of England unless superseded by statute.
Wow. Okay.
The common law of England, for the most part, was common sense for the common man.
When you look at the laws here, it's a pretty straightforward, common practices.
And we were moving away from this idea of this authority on the throne, and putting Christ on the throne where he belongs.
Yes. Yes.
And the courts were making rulings that were prudent.
Okay.
How will this ruling affect others, not just these people in this particular case? Jurisprudence. What's right in the present as much as possible, but then how is that going to affect going forward? And so it was wise, and the early decisions in this country, for the most part, they're really fun to read. A little tedious because they're written by judges.
Yes, yes.
And that's part of what I pray someday someone's going to come along and help me have make these AI videos of these old cases that would be immensely entertaining, but teach these same principles that
Simple
are actually controlling in our courts today.
Now, common law of England, the root of it was coming from the Church of England, wasn't it?
Much of it, yes.
Okay. And so you have this supposedly Christ-centered mindset, but the king how did that work? Was the king the ultimate authority, or was the King of Kings the ultimate authority?
Well, the king was authority of law.
Okay.
And the courts were the authority of equity.
Explain that.
Well, there's law and there's equity.
Okay.
In like a contract case, is mostly controlled by the law. But there are sometimes when a contract needs to be set aside.
Okay.
There was a contract, but it was obtained by fraud or overreaching or threat.
Okay.
And so now equity comes in, and equity says, no, we're going to do what's right. And that's how it's such a beautiful thing, the way I see it. And I began to understand something of it 55 years ago. Didn't go to law school till 41 years ago. So I had, 14 years of reading old books, Franklin Woolman, Marcus Aurelius, Penn, all these people. And it's beautiful. Takes a long time to read all of that, yeah. But I do believe that now with the AI and the ability to do these things, guided by men who understand that Christ, he is the example. He is our courage. He is the goal of everything we do should be to protect innocent people. And whatever it takes, if it's music, if it's dancing, if it's artwork, or if it's getting people to understand the rules that civilization requires, not just the courts require it, but civilization requires it. But they've been hidden by the lawyers, as Jesus said.
Why do you think so? I mean, even when Jesus said, why do you think that it's been hidden by the lawyers themselves? There's power involved with that, I gather?
I think the most generous thing I could say is that it's negligence on the part of the bar.
Okay.
I hate to think it's intentional. I just don't want to. It makes me feel ugly. I don't want to think that.
Okay.
I want to think that it's never occurred to them. They foolishly decided that God has nothing to do with justice, which is ridiculous based on the First Amendment, because the First Amendment doesn't, the word God doesn't appear in the First Amendment. There's a word in it that starts with an R. It's called religion, and it says nothing about God. And again, it's ignorance is the enemy. Yeah. Ignorance is the enemy. Yeah. Whether it's in medicine or finances or the law or how to get along with your spouse, how to run a business, we just need less ignorance. And I get excited sometimes. I would like to see this onrushing tide where we use technology that we have today to lift this light, lift Christ. He said, if I be lifted, I will draw all men. Yes. All men are not being drawn, no, must not be lifted all the ways that we could be lifting him. And I think this is one of those ways to lift him, is to reset these landmarks, as some old writers used to call them. Reset the landmarks, reset the lighthouses.
What needs to be resetted? Reset, sorry, bad word.
The rules.
Okay. What would be give me one or two.
Hearsay.
Okay, hearsay.
I mean, how many marriages do you think have fallen apart because, well, Susie told Sammy that Sammy told Harry, and Harry told, and they and then you're lost in the darkness. Mm. And the only way out of the darkness is to find the light.
Well, I know that in marriage, what I've seen and what my parents said and what I've learned from a bunch of counselors is that when both people are seeking Christ, it's amazing what happens. They come closer. And when they're both not, or only one is, and my dad always said, think of it like a pyramid or a triangle. And, we as sinful people are kind of already have a separation between us, man and women anyway. And he goes, the only way that we can come closer is as we both are seeking the Lord. When we do that, intimacy takes place, communication takes place, working together takes place. And when it doesn't, and only one does it or neither, you end up with that ignorance, if you will, of where real love comes from, where the bond of the marriage needs to be coming from. And it's not coming from because we're wonderful, great people. It's because we have a great God who loves us, and he's brought us together to build a family together centered on him. So how do you tie that to the law? Because there's a lot of lawyers. The joke with the lawyers and attorneys is that if you find a Christian attorney or a Christian lawyer, you are very fortunate, very blessed, because there's none out there that in the mind of most people. So why does that happen? In your estimation as an attorney, why has that happened in the consciousness of the American people? Because it has. I could go and do a survey on this, and that would be the joke. We have lawyers in our church. We have attorneys or lawyers, whatever you want to call them. But and how do you get that perception, or do we even need to, or do we just need to learn those four big things you talked about in the legal system and looking at justice in a simple form that we may not even need an attorney? Or I'm just trying to kind of figure that out. So, well, as I brought up to marriage, Christ as the center of it, how do you get law or the legal system to make the King of Kings actually the one on the throne, the one that's in charge, the one that we look for?
The way I see it, he's already on the throne.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, he is.
And I told you before, there are judges. I know one lawyer who we were driving to a hearing in West Palm Beach, and we lived in Stewart for a while.
Okay.
And I said, you're never going to get away from him. He set the hook. His name's Ed. I won't say his last name, might embarrass him, but wonderful, loving, kind, joyful, fabulous man. And he does his best to do what's right by his people, his clients. I just think that the more that the people themselves see the beauty of what I call the system, which isn't people, it's not what's going on at the courthouse. It's in the book, in
the actual law,
in maybe 20 or 30 pages.
Amazing.
And when they see that, and they begin to see that this is how we want our country to be run, this is how we want our businesses to be run, this is how we want things to be done on the planet, that nobody gets favoritism.
Which, by the way, the Bible talks very, very highly
Well,
about.
I just read that from
Go ahead, read it.
from Deuteronomy, right?
Yep.
Thou shalt not respect persons. So here's another one. Here are the causes between your talking to judges in Deuteronomy. Here are the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother. You shall not respect persons in judgment. You shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's.
Yes.
We can have more judges like that, but I want people to know that there are already judges like that.
Okay.
They're there.
Okay, good.
I think of David Seth Walker. So many just kind, loving people. Judge Roy Ulmer. He was chief judge for a while. They alternate. And I had a case where a father had murdered his wife, and he was trying to get custody of his children, his two little boys that he mistreated, had them eating out of garbage cans allegedly, and so forth, whatever. But that's what I understood to be true. I interviewed the boys separately. He wouldn't take them to get them medical treatment and so forth. Anyway, so I had a situation. I don't want to get into all the details about a guardianship and the grandfather. We got the grandfather in charge of the children.
Okay.
And I remember Judge Ulmer, and there was another judge, can't remember his name, and they colluded to do what's right. Now, they used the rules.
They didn't break the rules.
They didn't break the rules.
Okay.
But they were wise. And they used the rules. And that father did not get the children.
Which is a blessing.
Real quick story. It might be a little bit entertaining for people. I'd like to think so. So I had gone to this and got all this with Judge Ulmer. Then I went to another hearing where I had filed a motion to make a guardianship permanent. And this father, who allegedly killed the mother, was present in the courtroom along with a bunch of other people, his crony people. The judge came out. I could see the judge before he appeared. I could feel his presence before he came in the room. He came in the room, and as soon as he walked in the room, he was looking at me. He just walked in the room. It's like his eyes were on me before he got in the room.
Wow.
And he said, "Mr. Graves, why are we here?" And I said, "Well, Your Honor, I filed him. I know what you filed. Why are we here?" I said, "Well, sir, we had this guardianship. I tried to maybe blah, blah, blah." Right?
Yeah, you kept fumbling around, yeah?
And he said, "Why are we here?" Well, I'm here on this motion. And they connected with me, right?
They connected.
I said, "We're here for me to withdraw the motion." And he said, "That is correct, Mr. Graves." Good men. There was a good lady judge. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry if she sees this. Had to do with getting children adopted by a fellow preacher. He was a wonderful young man. He and his wife wanted to adopt these two children whose father was in Rayford prison. And she didn't break the rules, but she knew what had to be done. There are good people, and then there are some that need to be educated.
Okay. And so on the educational side, because we almost did an hour, I can't believe that. Man, this moved fast. So I'll ask you to come back again if you don't mind. And
I would love it.
Okay. So by the way, we have another attorney coming in next week.
Oh, good.
Yeah. He teaches classical Latin and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to bring him in as an attorney. But for you, I'm really interested in this small little part of the legal system that you're saying, if you know these 25, 30, whatever it is, pages, I'm very curious about that. So you and I are going to get together just for us so I can start looking at what
And
that
just
is.
touch on it for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Every federal case, criminal case, civil case, no matter what it is, the rules of evidence, at the time when I first saw this, could be printed on 19 pages. All of the rules of evidence on 19 pages. And some of those pages included what we call commentary, things that the publisher has written to try to help us understand what the rule is. 19 pages. It's only 19 pages between a public that knows nothing and a public that could be better informed to understand how to manage their personal affairs. It's not just court, but it's just good old solid common sense. And I want everybody to know about it.
Well, I'm very interested as a pastor of a church to learn more about this and to have our church and the people of our church and their friends and their friends and their friends understand that we can understand the legal system and understand that it's good. It's been brought up with the King of Kings. It's just a matter of sometimes we try to put a different king up there, but the King of Kings, and have a church and churches, the people know what that is so they can speak intelligently and actually probably hear people a little bit better, because we're not going to be nearly intimidated, because you're just going to listen and go, I hear where you're coming from, but have you considered this? And that's what it sounds like to me, that you're trying to get across to older pastors like me, younger pastors, and others. So I really would like to go over those 19 pages, just big general ideas, and next time you and I meet,
I'd like that.
so people can see it. Mm-hmm. And again, your business again is called the .com. Go ahead. Was it again?
How to Win in Court.
HowToWinInCourt.com. HowToWinInCourt.com. Frederick Graves. Yes, he's an attorney. You can trust him.
there was a lawyer in the Bible too.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. So for us, I hope this gets people intrigued, just a little. And then the next time we meet, let's go and not meet, but meet here doing this. Let's go over the general ideas of these 19 pages, if you will, 20 pages, and give a broad scope. Mm-hmm. And then you and I need to meet prior to that, so I know what it is, so I can at least have some sort of an intelligent conversation when we're doing this. I really want to be more informed as a pastor to have a bigger impact in what I'm supposed to be doing here.
It's Christ in you.
Yes, it is always. It always is. And we can talk more about grace and mercy and stuff next time. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that too. We'll get into some more biblical, philosophical ideas, and then and truths, and then let's look at those 19 pages and see if we can get some people that, including myself, to be more informed and be used of Christ maybe in a bigger way than we think. Does that sound fair?
Lift him higher.
That's right. Amen. All right, guys, today can be your favorite day. Just keep on looking up, gaze at him, glance at the problems, make sure you're focused on the Bible, stick in his word every single day. Love him well, because you're saved by the grace of Jesus Christ. What a wonderful thing. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take it easy, and we'll see you. You and I will be meeting soon.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. God bless you guys. Take it easy.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. The views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts alone. TIMFD is produced by the awesome Alex Korn. And until next time, have a great day, stay grateful, grounded, and growing in Christ.